The death penalty. Matt Ramirez. Many people believe that the system requires an equal punishment. The fact is that just because someone commits a savage crime does not convict them or mean of deserving of inhumane punishment. I believe the death penalty should not remain as an active punishment. As of 2013, it typically takes 15 years for an inmate to be convicted and tried to death row. It is more than just a quick and speedy trial. It is years of agony and emotion and strain not only to the convict but to the families, the jury, and the lawyers involved. Looking at this punishment from a financial standpoint, we can quickly see it costs roughly $308 million by execution by death penalty. This means that this costs our state a substantial amount to keep the death penalty alive than it would to get rid of. Going away with this harsh punishment would not only save us a ton of money, but it would also assist in using the funds elsewhere. Capital punishment is cruel and unusual. People who are put on death row are placed in a secluded selection in prison known as the SHU, the Security Housing Unit. If we were to ask an inmate who currently sits within the walls of a holding cell for death row, they would describe it as, quote, cells that are blocked off so that there is no visual social interactions between prisoners. Guards open a small slot in the solid cell door to give prisoners food and allow them to make rare phone calls. End quote. When we compare the living situations of an average person to that of a person who is living on death row, we can quickly see it as a punishment in itself. Staying in a room all day and all night with limited restrictions, activities is inhumane. At the end of the day, the inmates are still people who are treated like humans and not slaves. Their living conditions are not as horrible as the media makes it out to be. Their living conditions are for the sole purpose of eating, sleeping, and relieving of themselves. Solve other crimes or distribute it somewhere more resourceful. It costs roughly $308 million per execution. That's $4 billion throughout California alone. If we were to abolish this terminal way of punishment, I strongly believe we can use $4 billion to help bigger issues that we are seeing arise among us in today. According to ACLU.org, many law enforcement professionals look at an anonymous survey and all agree that the death penalty does not decrease or deter violent, savage crimes. Many believe that the death penalty acts as an example of consequences of violent crimes, but in fact it is not. It actually makes poor use of time for law enforcement. Police officers, investigators, and other professionals can be given the time to be using this to solve other cases. Although the lethal injection was created to end an inmate's life as quickly and peaceful without the least amount of pain, it is not like that all the time. In some cases, those who have received lethal injection go through tremendous amount of suffering, such as struggling to breathe, seizures, violent convulsions, and clenching muscles. If we look at the process of lethal injection, we also see that there is a mental and emotional pain not only to the inmate, but to the family as well. Knowing that you are about to die and cannot do anything about it can cause a lot of anxiety, strain on someone's mental health. Quote, the process of lethal injection is first given to an anesthetic that makes the inmate unconscious. The second, a paralytical stops all movement. And the third, potassium chloride, stops the heart. End quote. In some cases, inmates are given medalism, which does not completely make the inmate unconscious. Instead, it makes the inmate partially sedated. It is hard to say if during the state if the inmate are able to still feel the injections or if they feel any pain occurring throughout the process. The death penalty does not mean the lack of sympathy to the victims. In some cases, the family just want peace of mind and for the situation to be over with. When we look at the time frame of an inmate's time on death row, it takes nearly 15 years just to convict the inmate of the crime. There is also a possibility of the inmate being wrongly accused, or what if they were proven innocent and the death penalty was sustainable for the crimes that they were committed. That's a lot of money and time wasted. More importantly, the inmate was enslaved with a harsh punishment, wrongly accused, and the life taken for many years. Some may think that capital punishment will decrease the prison's overpopulation issue, but in fact this is incorrect. People believe that the justice system is too slow to process certain criminals and therefore they are not being sentenced correctly, causing an overflow. If we recall, it takes 15 years for someone to be placed on death row. This contradicts the theory that the death penalty would help reduce overpopulation. Quote, in 2000, the Bureau Justice System reported 37.1 escapes per 10,000 prisoners. End quote. People believe that the death penalty was substituted as a consequence for the criminals and help reduce not only crime but also escape within the prison. Quote, in 2007, murder rates in the states still had the death penalty exceeded those in states that have abolished it by no less than 42%. More than 18% of surveyed experts went even further and actually expressed the beliefs that the death penalty leads to a higher rate of murder, something that the authors call the brutalization hypothesis. Quote, this quote states that in fact having the death penalty only makes living situations worse and does not act as a caution sign to criminals. Many may think that living within a prison contributes to unhealthy living conditions, but in fact, this is incorrect. Quote, each inmate's unit is a total of 86.4 square feet. End quote. This is approximately the size of half a standard sized bedroom. Each room is equipped with a steel toilet, a bed, and if on good behavior, they will get privileged to receive a TV. Living conditions are not as horrible as people perceive it to be. When an inmate is sick and or ill, they are cared for by medical professionals. They are not ignored, abandoned, or left untreated. They are fed daily with meals provided by the facilities. Inmates get to shower 3 times a week to stay clean, and they are allowed a haircut once every 2 weeks. All of this shows that the inmates get proper grooming required. This is why I believe the death penalty should be done with. Reason being, although inmates have had poor decision making skills, they are still human and not perfect. Therefore, they should still be given their rights and not treated inhumanely. We need to remember that this is someone's life that is being taken away from. This is someone's brother, someone's father, someone's sister's or mother. Even though some of these criminals have committed heinous crimes, this does not give us the right to decide if they deserve death as their penalty. In some cases, not all people who are convicted are even guilty. The death penalty is not just a black and white situation. There are many shades of gray in between. I understand and sympathize with the victims and their family, but even they do not wish death upon another. It is a time period in which they just want justice to be served and a lawful punishment to be made. Being locked up in a jail cell for life with no more family meals, holiday traditions, or even something as simple as a walk in the park can be done. I believe the death penalty needs to be abolished and instead we need to fix the prison system. This goes beyond than just the prison system, but the justice system as well. If we fix the system and develop more programs, or better programs for inmates to rehabilitate into society, other places around the world have actually put this theory to work with not only those who have committed small crimes, but those who have committed multiple murders. Personally, I enjoy this topic, although my inner beliefs still stand that the death penalty should still definitely be issued to criminals who have done savage crimes. Reasons behind my opinion comes from the idea that if I was in the situation, I would want full punishment to be carried out. My personal biased opinion did not get in the way of this paper. Although I may think this is a fair punishment to those who deserve it, many would have to disagree. In conclusion, I still strongly believe that the death penalty should still be enforced throughout all 15 states, or at least left up to the states to decide. Thank you.